Dr. Johnson, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So the first question, why are we aging as a nation? What are the reasons for it?
Well, one, we're living healthier lives, taking better care of ourselves, eating better, exercising more, and we are rebuilding our communities in a way to facilitate successful aging by walking trails, jogging trails, biking trails, and things of that nature. And then medical advances are contributing to increased longevity in our population. We have something called regenerative medicine. It's in its infancy, but we have scientists in fact, a scientist in North Carolina who's regenerated a bladder. So if your bladder wears out, we'll build you a new one, kind of thing. And so this whole notion that some of the diseases that in the past have led to the early onset of death, that we may have medical solutions to those problems that enable us to extend life. And then the other thing is that that's contributing to aging is declining fertility among the native-born population. We're having fewer children. In fact, the non-Hispanic white population has had below replacement level fertility for about 20 years. In a statistical sense, it takes 2.1 kids to replace yourself. Non-Hispanic white rate has been at about 1.9 for about 2 decades. And so we're having fewer children, taking better care of ourselves, and I guess the third piece of it that's related to having fewer children is the growing role of women in the workforce and career trajectories, leadership roles in business and the like. As more and more women are career-oriented, they defer marriage and they defer childbearing, and the longer you defer marriage and defer childbearing, the fewer years you have to reproduce. And so there's a shrinking of the reproductive years because of growing presence of women in the workforce and in occupations and careers and the like. So all of that together has had an adverse impact on reduced fertility rates and increased the aging of our population.
Explain the term you used it today in your talk, truncated, am I saying that right?
Truncated productivity.
Truncated disability.
Yeah.
And what kind of impact that's having on our society?
Well, if the life expectancy at birth today is about 78.3 years. And so if you look at the productive years, the assumed projected productive years of a person that's going to live to 78.3 years, at a minimum, you expect them to work to age 65 and be contributing to the economy and to the Social Security and the like. What truncated productivity means is that people are contracting debilitating diseases earlier in life than in previous generations that lead to disability sometimes in the 20s, 30s, and 40s that you otherwise would not have gotten if you got them at all until your 60s, 70s, and 80s. And so when you become disabled, you are no longer contributing to the system. You are almost probably in most instances you are dependent on the system then, because you're not able to work, or you're not able to work full time, or you stay sick so often that it's called presenteeism. You're at work, but you're not working at full capacity, or it's called absenteeism. You are frequently not at work, and it's mostly related to lifestyle factors. You know, some of us not taking very good care of ourselves, so obesity and diabetes, and those kinds of issues. I think we have some serious mental health challenges in our community today that prevent people from working full time and the like. And so it's a complex array of forces that come together to create that reduced propensity or ability to work. And some of it is early onset of death. The number of people dying in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. Some of it is due to lethal violence. Some of it is due to our military presence in places and people, losing their lives there, and these other lifestyle factors, not eating healthy, not taking care of yourself, leading to the onset of chronic diseases much earlier.
You mentioned the number of babies being born within the U.S. is not being enough to replace the current population, and obviously this leads to some challenges. What are those challenges?
Well, when you're not reproducing, when you do not have above replacement level fertility, that contributes to the aging process because remember that the average person turning 65 today is going to live another 18.7 years. So that means they've already paid into the Social Security system and they're getting out of the system. But where does the money come from? It has to come from a younger population because it's a pay-as-you-go system. So the lower your fertility rates, absent immigration, is you can't sustain society, you can't sustain government programs and the like because you don't have enough working age people that work every day. And then we get these debilitating diseases and early onset of death leading to truncated productivity. It's a real challenge for us. And so we have to figure out how to, I think we have to be immigrant friendly because you got to import new talent, new labor that's able to work and contribute to business formation, job creation, and work every day and pay into the system. Immigrants have high rates of entrepreneurship and small business development. So those are all value add for us in a society where our native population is aging out. So that's why we have to look at it in the full complex of the two colorful processes we talk about, the graying of America on the one hand and the browning of America on the other hand. We want to nurture and protect those who are graying, and we want to grow the browning population so that we can sustain the systems, the social safety net systems that we all need as we age in life.
So you really see immigration as a solution to
I do,
to this?
Very much so. I think I don't see any other way for us to sustain our communities and our population without having importing young talent and creating environments and investing in that young talent, particularly the kids of immigrants. You want them, I'd much rather them to be well educated with a skill set than here and uneducated without a skill set. It's a form of enlightened self-interest. The return on investment, I think, of investing in their education over the long haul is far greater than the money that we're actually putting into educating them.
So flipping around the whole fertility idea, are there some advantages of having a smaller population?
Well, some people would say that, the impacts on the environment are lower. There's the environmental argument that you're reducing the adverse effects on the environment, the physical environment, natural resources and things of that nature, and the carrying capacity, that we have a finite carrying capacity and all of that. But I think that if you don't grow, you die. So I think inherent we need to grow, and we really need really smart people to help us grow smartly. If you have a truncated gene pool and not a very diverse gene pool, then you don't get the benefit of the most creative ideas of how do you create a healthy, viable, and sustainable planet. And that's why I'm very supportive of immigration, because it means that we now have a diverse gene pool of creativity to draw upon to deal with some of these seemingly intractable problems that we confront in society today.
With a growing elderly population, that's going to create a big market for a lot of products and services. In your speech today, you talked about senior playgrounds. So I want to ask you what those are.
Yeah, senior playgrounds will replace children's playgrounds in the future. They are environments that enable and facilitate aging in place. These are entities that are designed to reduce the propensity of seniors falling, to keep them active, to work on their balance, their dexterity, and things of that nature that reduce your propensity to fall. Falling is about a $19 billion a year problem today. Seniors falling, injuring, and sometimes leading to death is a $19 billion problem, projected to grow to $55 billion by 2020. So the more active you are, the better off you are, the more likely you are to maintain your balance and dexterity. And so these fitness parks are opportunities to age in place and be active in the built environment and facilitating the aging in place.
What's the number one takeaway that you want a state legislator to have?
First and foremost, that there are enormous opportunities in the aging of our demographic of our population. Enormous opportunities for job creation, for business development, for community development, and for reducing caregiver stresses and strains that come with an aging population. In other words, as opposed to looking at the glass as being half empty, it is really half full.
So it's opportunity, not a problem.
Real opportunity, absolutely. That's the primary takeaway I hope they got today from what I had to say.